Hello, good people of YouTube. Mountbatten here. And submarines are indeed upon us, at least for the test server. If you do want in on this action, all you have to do is download the test server. If you do that from the Wargaming Game Center that you have to download to run Warships, just go to install additional instance and select TST, and you'll go ahead download that automatically. Just go ahead and sign on in, and boom, you're good to go. So, Submarines, the final round of testing outside of the main server. On the timeline, if they follow it at least, I'm guessing that may change depending upon how bad or how well this round of testing goes. The next round of testing will be on the main server in a separate ranked game mode. So they are coming to ranked, which is quite funny. But anyway, so I did not get a submarine right away. The way this test session goes is that only select members get submarines right off the bat. Everyone else has to earn 4,000 base XP, then you get access to the American and German submarine. Which, I mean, we'll get to those in a moment. So, playing against submarines, what is that like? Well, I played quite a few rounds in battleships playing against submarines. Now, this round of testing, battleships actually get their ASW planes. It's an additional armament. I'm guessing this is very much what the Dutch airstrike is going to look like and function like. You can select a section of the water around, I think for the most part, it was about 10 kilometers away from your ship. You click there, it takes about 20 seconds for the planes to fly in. They fly in, drop their depth charges, and they go on about their way, and then the armament goes on cooldown. Now, something that's interesting to note is that not every battleship actually gets this armament. Right now, it's only the Normandy, the New Mexico, the Queen Elizabeth, and I think that's it for the battleships that we have access to, at least on the test server right now, that get this consumable. Oh, I'm sorry, and the Fuso too. I'm just double checking here in port. The Germans, the Italians, and the Soviets don't get this consumable right now. I'm not sure what the reasoning is. It didn't mention it in the article when I was scanning through it. But yeah, they don't get access to this. I'm not sure why. I'm not sure if it's because maybe they don't have plane models for those factions. I didn't really check when I was playing, and that's something I probably should have. But I did notice, I believe the American ones were PBYs, and I believe the British ones were, I couldn't tell, but they looked like different planes. They may be the same planes, I may just be over-examining it. But yeah, for some reason, only those three nations get that right now, at least. It may change with the higher tiers. But anyway, these planes are actually very, very effective. With the Queen Elizabeth, I easily dealt with the submarines with this consumable. I sunk 2 like this, 1 in each match, and something to note too is that they are going to be limited to 2 per side when this comes to the main server. Right now it's 3 per side just because of the sheer amount of people trying to play them, which is quite funny because if you go read anything about submarines on YouTube or anywhere, it's a bunch of people saying that no one wants them and that they're going to ruin the game, but there sure is a whole lot of people trying to play them on the test server, so much so when I finally unlocked them, first off, I couldn't even get into a match because the servers were overloaded, and then I had to sit in queue for like 3 or 4 minutes because there was 40 or 50 in queue, so that's pretty funny to me at least. But when you're playing against them, not a big deal for battleships when you have this consumable. Even when you don't have this consumable, I did play the bind for a few matches without this consumable. Well, armament, I guess, is what they're categorizing it as. The secondary is actually quite good with dealing with submarines. If you didn't know, HE is the ammo type to use because it has a splash damage effect. So up to, I think, periscope depth, which is 8 meters, HE will still affect these ships. And the clips you're playing right now, I mean, I absolutely drained this, I think it's a U69 of its health with the Bayern secondaries. So you still got that going for you. Now, if they're deeply submerged, that's a different story. But if they're within periscope depth, which many of them probably will be for a reason we'll get to here in a moment, you can deal with them quite easily with HE. But anyway, So that's for the battleships. What about the cruisers and the destroyers? Well, the cruisers and the destroyers still have, of course, the depth charges, and these are really, really effective against these subs. These subs do not have a lot of health at all. I believe both the U-69 and the Cachalot, they have below 10,000 health. Yeah, Cachalot has 9,900. U-69 has 8,300. The Soviet one, I don't know. I think that's the one you got if you were lucky and you were one of the chosen ones when you logged into the test server. But I think if it's over 10,000, it's barely over 10,000. So yeah, these things are not tough. Does not take a whole lot to sink them. So you don't have to worry about these things just being nigh unkillable. But anyway, so what's it like actually playing these submarines? Well, this time around we have unique submarine commander skills, and they're a little confusing because there's no icons for most of them. Most of them are dealing with your sonar or your torpedoes, or your battery. There's skills to help you improve your battery life, which is something you definitely need to look at and make careful choices with what you're going with. And it's very weird and kind of confusing to remember what's what because there's no icons. They're all just boxes that say new. But you got these like sonar one, which decreases your sonar reload time for your ping when you're detected by the enemy. Sonar 2, which increases the velocity of your ping, which means it moves faster through the water and gets to the target quicker. Then you've got things like torpedoes 3, which increases the speed of your torpedoes but decreases your torpedo reload time. Then torpedoes 5, which increases the damage your torpedoes do to the ship when you have a sector highlighted twice. So it means you ping the same place twice. I'm sure these names are just placeholders, and they'll give these skills proper names as time goes on. But there are some quite useful ones like Battery 2, which is the 4-point skill for the, I guess, survivability section, whatever this section they're going to call this, which decreases the depletion time of your battery when you are detected and have less than 25% of your dive capacity remains. So that's a pretty nice skill too. There's new unique modules too, but it's more of the same story there. They aren't pictured. They're again just boxes that say new, and like dive capacity mod 1, which again further slows down the depletion rate of your dive capacity when you're detected by the enemy, which again is something you definitely need to build into, especially with these tier 6 submarines. And there's new consumables too. We got the hydrophone, which they didn't give that a picture either, which when you pop that, it's kind of like an active ping, and it highlights the area around you. You get to see the terrain. You get to see the enemy ships, but they don't pop up on the mini-map. They're not actually spotted. It shows you a vague outline of them. Then we get, for the Americans, something that's very cool called Reserve Battery, which gives you another 32 seconds of time underwater. And the Germans get the increased dive plane, which is very, very, very nice. Helps you dive much, much faster. Then we also have Sonar Modification 1, which is basically like Main Armaments Mod 1 or Secondary Battery Mod 1, which increases the survivability of your sonar and decreases the repair time of your sonar as well. Okay, so that's what's new in terms of captain skills and modules. There are more skills out there, but they don't really do too much right now. If you want to go and look at them, just go ahead and log on to the test server, take a look at them. Again, it's a little confusing because there's no pictures or proper names or anything like that, but that's the basis of what you can build into with these submarines right now. So what's it like playing submarines now? Well, I'm not gonna lie, I like the old versions better. There were problems with them for sure, but this new play style, these new mechanics, I'm not a huge fan of them. So remember how in the original devlog and article, they stated that submarines would have about a 10-minute dive time, meaning they could stay underwater for 10 minutes. Matches are 20 minutes. Most matches realistically are over by the 12 or 10-minute mark. They said the average battle time is 15, which, okay, I guess they are a war game. They have all that data, but 15 minutes, so you get 10 minutes of it underwater, so you still have 5 minutes where you have to be on the surface. Well, apparently that's by tier 10 standards, if what we're seeing here is going to hold true for the rest of the submarines. The Cachalot and the U-69 have a dive time of around 5 minutes. The Cachalot only has 4 minutes and I think 39 seconds, something like that. So yeah, you only have 4 minutes underwater. That's not a lot of time at all. And the Cachalot dives friggin' slow. The U-69 dives a lot faster, but still only has about 5 minutes underwater. So that's yeah, that's rough. Now, granted, these ships are extremely stealthy from the surface, so you really don't have to be underwater all the time. But like with the U-69, her torpedo range is so short. She has an 8-kilometer torpedo range, and she's detected from, I think, 5 kilometers out, if I'm remembering correctly. Yeah, 5.6 kilometers out, and you don't have a concealment expert to build into the submarine skills or the modules yet. They may have it on the higher tier submarines, but right now you don't have that at tier 6. So Cachalot only has about 2.4 kilometers to play with its torpedoes. So yeah, that kind of sucks. Now, it wasn't an issue with the U-69 with the old mechanics, the old battery charge mechanics, because you could dive underneath the water, expend your battery, get close to the target, pop up, get your torpedoes off, and go back under the water. And recharge your battery, rinse, wash, and repeat. And I actually like playing the U-69 like that, like an ambush ship, where I wouldn't even bother with locking on the torpedoes. I would just dive, get it within like a kilometer or two of the enemy ship, pop up, pop some torpedoes at them, and dive down again. It was really fun to play, but you can't do that anymore. Well, you could probably do it once or twice, but with 4 or 5 minutes of time underwater, there's just not a lot of time to do that. Now, the Cachalot was a lot more comfortable to play because her torpedoes have an 11-kilometer range, which is much, much, much better. But again, she's a very big boat. She dives and surfaces very, very slowly too. But those 11-kilometer torpedoes certainly are more useful than the U-69's 8-kilometer torpedoes. But with her diving and surfacing so slow, you burn up so much of that dive time doing that. It's really, really, really painful. But she does have that reserve battery consumable to where you can get 30 seconds of unlimited battery time. So that was pretty nice. But I don't like this new mechanic. I really don't. Now, it is forcing the submarines to be at the surface for a lot longer than they were beforehand, which sure, that was a problem. Submarines could recharge their batteries underwater, which I thought was pretty dumb, because that means you're running the diesel underwater, which means you are taking air from the crew. Humans kind of need that air thing to survive. But back then, I said they should just, introduce some mechanics where you have to be at the surface to charge your batteries, which would make sense, and that would probably remedy that problem. You could give them these minute dive times like you do right now, like 4 minutes underwater. You can run underwater for 4 minutes, but then you have to come to the surface and recharge your battery, and they can make that recharging time take, a minute, 2 minutes, enough time to where they're forced to be there, then they can go back down under. It can be more than that too. I'm just spitballing right now in terms of dive time. The other thing that really hurts is the way they changed the diving itself. It's now set like the speed, like somebody commented. You've got, how you can tap W a couple times, you're at full speed. Tap S a couple times, you're at full reverse. You can't set your speed based on the knots. Now you cannot set your depth based on the meter. You have surface, periscope depth, which is 8 meters, operating range, which is 21 meters, and then maximum depth, which is 40 meters. And you can't set it in between, which unfortunately ruined some of the fun that I had with the submarines. Submarine versus submarine battles were definitely the highlight of the last round of testing, because you would all be trying to get your submarine to turn at the right angle, diving up, diving down, trying to dive over the enemy torpedoes. You had a lot more control over your depth, and it was an absolute blast. And it was, again, one of the funnest parts of that original submarine test, and I'm very sad that that's apparently gone. So I would bring that back. I would bring back the battery charge mechanic, and again, give them that very short time underwater, sure, 4 minutes, but allow them to recharge their batteries. Because right now, sitting at the surface, a CV sees you, one run and you're dead. And I get it, they're submarines, they're not meant to be tanky, I get it, but 4 minutes underwater for a tier 6 submarine is not a long time. So yeah, I know some people think it's a good thing that they should have to be at the surface a lot, and I understand that. And yeah, submarines in World War II, like I said before, they did spend a whole lot of time operating at the surface. It makes perfect sense. But in this game, only having 4 minutes underwater at tier 6, that's kind of rough, especially again for the U-69. The Cachalot is a lot better because you can stay at the surface with your detection range of, I think it's 5 kilometers, I'm sorry, 6.2 kilometers, but you still have another 5.8 kilometers to work with your torpedoes. So a lot more cushy range than the the U-69. So yeah, the Cachalot's probably the way to go right now. If you're planning on playing the test server, I would definitely recommend playing the Cachalot more than the U-69. Some other things too. The underwater world looks very nice. The submarines themselves, you have a lot more customization options now. You can put signal flags on. You can select the camouflage too. That's pretty cool. There's a whole lot of nice details. The rudders turn on the submarines. The signal flags and the flags, if you notice, they actually raise them and lower them right before they go underneath the water. Very nice detail. Oh yeah, and the deck guns actually work now, which is very cool. They are secondaries, and they do fire sap shells. So you've got a decent bit of pin for these sap shells, but I mean, it's only one gun. So it's not too effective, but it's definitely useful when you're surfaced next to an enemy submarine and both of you are out of dive time. You can't get your torpedoes turned around. So you're both just sitting there praying that your secondary gun is more accurate than their secondary gun. So that's pretty neat. Something I forgot to mention with the surface ships is that after you get pinged and you pop damage con, it undoes the torpedo lock. So that's pretty neat, especially for the Americans with their 20 plus second damage con time. So you can use that. You see the torpedoes coming in, they're homing, pop damage con, undoes the homing, and there you go. But again, you still are wasting your damage con for that. So that's an interesting mechanic at the moment. Now, granted, I haven't played a lot. I haven't been doing a whole lot of damage with the submarines because they did definitely nerf the damage that the torpedoes do. The U-69's torpedoes, they used to do, I think, in the neighborhood of like 13,000 damage per torp. Now they only do 5,800. So when you're trying to sink battleships and such, it's really not that much damage, especially after the torpedo protection gets added in there. And even with the double ping now, you don't get the magic torpedoes that ignore the torpedo protection and do citadel damage. You now have to go after cruisers and destroyers if you want to be really effective, which the torpedoes, they're more maneuverable than before, but they're not like Ace Combat homing missiles maneuverable. You should be seeing some footage up here on screen. If you even maneuver once they're spotted in the slightest bit of ways, you're probably going to dodge them quite easily. The U-69, I guess that is one of its strong suits, being that it can pop up right in front of ships. If you get point blank, they're hard to dodge, but definitely by the time you spot them just in a normal situation, you can easily dodge these torpedoes. You kind of do have to be caught out in the open, and they did add in the mechanic to where when you're pinged, it hides that part of your ship. So now you know for sure which way the torpedoes are coming from, and they're pretty easy to dodge. So if this is the submarines that we're going to be getting, if this is the state that they are in when they go on to the live server, I don't think they're going to be a big issue. Because right now, they don't spend a lot of time underwater. They can't spend a lot of time underwater, again, with the tier 6s. We will be getting access to the tier 10s later on in the testing. I think there's going to be one round at tier 6, one round at tier 10. Maybe the tier 10s will be a bit better and have a bit more dive time and such, but we will see. But yeah, if they come to the game in this state, they're not going to be the end of the game like so many people have been crying out about. There'll be a pretty neat addition. There were definitely some fun moments. Submarine versus submarine combat was still pretty fun, even though we couldn't set the depth directly. It was a lot more of that, trying to dodge him, he's trying to dodge me, I'm trying to get his torps off on him, he's trying to get his torps off on me. But it wasn't as fun as it used to be with the manual control of your depth, but it's still pretty fun. And being a sneaky little ship and sailing underneath the enemy team, trying to sneak around, it's definitely a fun ship to play, at least for the 4 or 5 matches I got to play up during the prime time today. But they are a lot weaker than they were in the second test. I'm going to tell you that. And I do encourage you to download the test client and go check them out for yourselves and make up your own mind. So that's what I think about subs right now. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to drop a like and subscribe to the channel. We're on our way to we're on our way to 30,000 subscribers. We just passed 26,400 the other day, and I kind of think you guys enough for that. I'll be live streaming right here on the channel tonight from 5 p.m. U.S. Central Time to 8 p.m. U.S. Central Time. So please come out and check us out here on the channel and on Twitch. Hope you guys are having a wonderful Friday. Hope to catch you guys in the next one.